As I said at the top of the show, today's focus is on school building needs across the state. So we took a field trip to Rockingham County and Reidsville High School. Take a look. We're in Rockingham County today talking about school infrastructure needs, and with us is the superintendent of Rockingham County Schools, Dr. Rodney Shotwell. Rodney, thanks for being with us today.
Appreciate you coming out, Keith.
Absolutely. It's nice to be here in Reidsville High School. One of the things that we wanted to highlight on the show today is infrastructure needs and building needs. The state of North Carolina, according to the Department of Public Instruction, has about $8 billion in needs right now statewide in terms of new buildings, upgrades, renovations, repairs. What does the situation look like in Rockingham County?
With the last survey that we did, it was about $126 million in needs between replacement of schools or renovations and upgrades.
Right. And so for a number like that, I mean, this is, Rockingham County is not a wealthy county. I mean, it's sort of would be considered more of a low wealth county, certainly, in terms of the amount of resources that are available here. Can Rockingham County provide those kind of resources?
It's tough because, we do have support, but when you're looking at the tax base, when you're looking at the industrial base to be able to bring in other types of revenue, we're working on that, and I think we're making some headway, but right now, there's no way in the world that we can meet those massive needs that we have for our schools.
And as you know, one of the General Assembly is looking at a possible school bond to put on the ballot that would bring just shy of $2 billion statewide. What would that mean for you as a superintendent and for the students here in Rockingham County?
Well, definitely it would help us with, I think we would get about $18 million out of that proposal, and then there would be a match. So you're talking about probably about $30 to $40 million. So we're talking about a couple of school replacements and or several renovations that are definitely needed to be ADA compliant, and just simply upgrading a lot of the HVAC. And I want to take you around Reidsville High School and show you some places where we have done some upgrades and where we need some.
This school was built when, in the 1960s?
In the 1960s, and we've got a few additions that were built in the 70s and in the late 80s and early 90s, but the core structure of the school was built in the 1960s.
All right, well, let's talk a little bit. We'll go look around. We'll talk a little bit more about some of the needs here in the county and right here at Reidsville High School. So,
okay, sounds like a plan.
So this system here, this boiler, this is a 50-year-old.
It's a 50-year-old boiler.
50-year-old heating system.
And then even the lights. Now, these particular lights were replaced in the early 1990s, but we could do so much better now with LED lights. It's basically plexiglass, and then you've got this square down here, and that's the only thing between the kids being inside here and the elements outside. So from a heating and cooling perspective, right, is problematic. This was one of the ways that they circulated air. They would slide these windows back and have the air moving.
So this is part of the HVAC system, or sliding these plastic windows open?
Yes. When we have 35 kids in a classroom at a high school, it gets really tight, because the classrooms that are here, they're long and they're narrow.
Right.
And so if you compare that to a newer school, there's probably about 200 to 300 square foot more room. A door like this would have to be replaced. And so you're talking about $5,500 just for this entryway here. We're trying to figure out a way to create a perimeter that could keep people who don't belong here out. And when you look here at this campus, one of the proposals was that we take all the Florida style building, that's what everybody refers to this architecture as, take it all down, and then we would put back up a 2-story building here in its place. Both of our gyms, neither one of them have air conditioning.
I don't see how, I tell you, I don't see how you play basketball in this heat.
Well, you can see here when you come in here, okay, the doors are wide open. Hey guys.
Dr. Shotwell, one of the things from a school security perspective is controlling entranceways. Looks like there's a lot of doors into this building. It
is. There are 104 exterior doors that have access into various parts of the school.
Right. So that's, again, from infrastructure investments, that's the kind of thing going to take a lot of money to sort of either lock those or figure out different ways to get in.
Absolutely. And when you look at the new high schools that are being built, even though they do have doors that are at the end of each hallway, they really funnel everybody through that front door, and if a student leaves the classroom, they can be under the same roof anywhere they go. Here, you know, we got students coming, leaving one building, going to the next.
Sheriff Sam Page, Rockingham County, we appreciate you being with Education Matters today. Thanks for joining us.
Glad to be here.
Well, we're actually sitting in Reesville High School, which you were just saying, this was your high school. You graduated
I
from here.
graduated. I'm proud to say I graduated from Reesville Senior High School. Yes, sir, 1975.
Well, wonderful. Well, we're here in Rockingham County today. We're going to talk to you and talk to the school superintendent, and we'll take a look around the school about school infrastructure needs. The General Assembly is considering a possible statewide bond to help build schools. There's also, and repair schools, there's also a lot of talk about school safety, which
Absolutely.
is why I wanted to talk to you. As the sheriff, it's obviously always been a priority for you in terms of making sure our students are safe. But of course, there's been a lot more interest lately, the horrible shooting in Florida, the recent shooting in Santa Fe, Texas. What kinds of investments are needed to make sure that our schools are safer?
Well, when you start talking about school safety and security, you're talking about different layers of safety and security. I've always advocated the first level is to have a school resource officer, and the governor, of course, put this in budget funding for this purpose for school resource officers. But I do think we need to have a school resource officer to push toward everyone in every school we have in North Carolina. Mm-hmm. When you look at a lot of time your high schools and even some of your middle schools, they're kind of spread out. They're kind of wide open. Open access. We need to look at physical security. We need to look at our doors. We need to look at the access points, and we really need to start focusing and funneling people through a central point of entry access point. They do the same thing in Israel. Since 1974, I understand that in about 40 years, they've only had about a half dozen assaults on schools, but part of that is how they control the entry points, the security, actually having a physical presence there, armed presence there, but also they also have the other security countermeasures, the lock systems, the doors, and stuff like that.
Do you need, does Rockingham County need state resources to do those kind of things? I mean, is this something that can be handled with local resources?
I'll just tell you right now, when you talk to the commissioners, they're going to tell you that a lot of times they don't have the funding. We do depend on a lot of times on federal and state dollars to help us do that. My recommendation to the legislature is fund the money to help us bring up the level of security, whether it be our doors, our locking systems, our access points. There's a question, metal detectors, camera systems for surveillance. There's several things you can do besides having that school resource officer there that's armed as a physical deterrent. But also, as far as the facilities, yeah, we need to upgrade, and we're probably going to have to ask the state or the Fed for support in that area. I'm glad to hear that the governor has put in about $130 million in his budget request this year going toward that effort. I don't know if he'll be able to get all that money requested, but I think it's a good start, and I would appreciate our legislature supporting those efforts to target hard in our schools. We've got to do it. Schools are soft targets, as they say, and we got to do everything we can to make them more secure, and also working inside with educating our students and educating our teachers and staff about awareness and how we can be better secure. Mm-hmm. Shutting doors, don't leaving doors open and stuff like that. You know, the old days, putting a rock there and leaving the door so you can run in, run out. We've got to secure our doors. We've got to control access, and we've got to know who's coming into our schools. And when a threat is made, we've got to look at that, we've got to assess it, and we've got to deal with it then. We take all threats serious.
Great. Well, we appreciate what you do every day and appreciate the insights on how we can help keep our students safe. Thanks so much, Sheriff.
We appreciate
it, sir. When we come back, we're going to continue this discussion about school building needs and possible solutions. But before we go to break, see if you can answer this question. Even though the state is supposed to pay for all school staff and operations, and county governments are supposed to cover building costs, last year North Carolina County spent $3.1 billion to fund school personnel locally. What percentage of that of North Carolina Public Schools' total operating expenses is that?